So this is an introduction to the Panasonic HMC151. So you've got a lens cap here, keep that safe in the bag. This is a full HD camcorder that records to AV-CHD. So the media we record onto goes into here, and that just clicks open, push in, that comes out. So that's your SD card, or SDHC card they're called now, and you need one that's at least class 6, but pretty much anything you buy these days. I recommend SanDisk, and this one's 8 gigabytes. So at 24 megabits you'll get about an hour recording on there. Right, to turn the camera on, there's a little white thumb switch here that you push in and then push down, and that powers on the camera. Okay, and then the red button there is the record button to start recording. Okay, so with the camera on, you can open the viewfinder. Again, that's got this, don't force anything, that's got a little lock switch in the middle there, so let's open that up so you can see the viewfinder. The next thing that's very useful to know is this switch here. It's got standby at the top, mode at the bottom. So this is the mode switch, and it switches between camera, where it says cam, and PB for playback. So you can play back your clips via that. So you press that, it goes into playback mode, and then the buttons on this side here, in the middle, you push up to play the clip and stop for down. Okay. So let's go back into camera mode, and then to format the cards, we press this menu button on the side, and then with these side buttons here we toggle down to card functions and card format. Click in, say yes, SD card format, yes, now formatting, and you see this orange light flashes. For any camera this is, but when the light is flashing, you do not want to remove the media. That will cause your data to be corrupt and potentially ruin the card itself. Okay, so it's a good thing to remember. Okay, so that's happy, that's formatted. So yeah, we're ready to record. Okay, so we can press record. Right, so this camera, it does have auto controls. But they're really for use in emergency, and the more control you have over the camera, the better your results will be. So you want this switch at the back here in manual. Switch there says ring, and you want that on focus, and that ring represents this ring at the front of the camera here, and you want to be able to focus with that ring. Yeah. Okay. You've got white balance switches. Okay. Then you've got gain switches. So you want gain at the lowest, because that is the least amount of noise. If you're desperate and you're shooting at night and there's not enough light, then you can toggle this down, but you will introduce noise to the picture. Okay. And then you've got a switch here that says iris, and so iris controls your aperture, which is basically how much light is let in through the lens. And to press that once, we'll let the camera do automatic exposure, and then if you press it again, it goes into manual, and then you're controlling the aperture yourself manually by this thumb wheel here. To do a white balance on this camera, so you've got basically A and B are memory switches, and the one at the bottom, PRST, stands for preset. So the preset on this camera, you can toggle. So if you have it on preset, you can actually toggle using the AWB, which is the auto white balance on the front. You can actually toggle between what is a tungsten preset and a daylight preset color. So if you're indoors and you've got tungsten lighting like we have in here, so you want that on 3,200 Kelvin, and if you're outside, you can put that onto 5,600 Kelvin. So that's 5,600 Kelvin. And that's a base sort of preset standard color for daylight. Obviously, color temperatures vary throughout the day and throughout the conditions, but that's a standard. If If you want to do an actual white balance, so you want to make sure that the whites are recorded white on your camera, so then you use an A or a B, and then you press the auto white balance button once you've got a white piece of card in front of the camera that's properly exposed. So it's not actually showing white on the camera, it's actually showing a sort of mid grey. And then you press the auto white balance button, and it will create a white balance based on the lighting conditions. Okay, so that's taking you through these switches along the bottom. Up here, so this is your wheel for your focus. Next to it is a zoom ring, which at the moment I can move manually, and we go from what it says is a 3.9mm to a 51mm zoom. They will represent a sort of medium wide to a fairly zoomed in range. Okay. If this doesn't move manually, don't force it, because again there's a switch here that switches the zoom between manual and servo, and servo is basically a motor that then means you can operate the zoom via these big toggle buttons. Okay, so you can do smooth zooming, which again is very good for live event recording, but not so good for drama as a rule. Okay. So you've got focus, you've got autofocus, or you've got manual focus, yeah. And then there's a push auto button, so you can actually use the camera to set the focus, but then you leave it on manual so it doesn't drift, because what you don't want is the focus automatically searching and shifting throughout the shot. So you want the focus locked, even if you've used the brains of the camera to do the focusing for you using the push auto button. Okay. There's also a focus assist button on top of that if you press, basically creates a digital zoom into the screen. Okay, so that helps you see that whether something's in focus without having to change the shape, the size of your shot. Okay. Next to those focus commands, you've got ND filters, and they're basically sunglasses for the camera. So your general rule is you want them off. If you're in very bright sunlight, you might want to switch those on one at a time.